The first and probably the simplest technique for encoding concepts into easy-to-memorize images is the acronym technique. By using the first letters of the words in a set of different and often abstract concepts, this technique helps us create a mnemonic word or phrase that will help us remember what we have learned. What is an acronym? According to Wikipedia, an acronym is a word or name formed from the initial components of a longer name or phrase, usually using individual initial letters, as in NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or EU, European Union, but sometimes using syllables, as in Benelux, Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, or a mixture of the two, as in radar, radio detection and ranging. The new word formed by an acronym is easier to write and say than the sum of its parts, being a shorthand way of expressing an idea. You probably are familiar with many of the acronyms that are in everyday use, such as ADHD, created from Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or FAQ, for Frequently Asked Questions. Besides their role of shortening different expressions, acronyms can be used successfully to help us memorize things, especially when they are in sequential list form. The acronym mnemonic technique is very simple to learn and to apply, and can be used both in your studies, in your career, and in different daily activities. This technique has two variants, the acronym method and the sentence method. The first method uses a single word formed from the initials of the items in the list, while the second method creates a mnemonic phrase composed of words beginning with these initials. Let's view how each method works. The acronym method. You may be familiar with some acronyms used to help you remember items in school, such as the colors of the rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet can be memorized with the acronym Roy G. Biv, or the Great Lakes, Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, and Superior, which are memorized with the acronym HOLMES. Here's how you can use this method as a memory technique. You take the first letter of each word in a set you want to remember and create a word using those letters. Then, you use that word to trigger your memory for every word in the set. Hearing the first letter of each word helps you recall the whole word you want to remember. The method involves 3 steps. 1. Write the concepts you need to memorize one below the other in the form of a list. 2. Underline the first letter of each concept. If there is more than one word in an idea, underline the first letter of only the first word. And 3. Arrange the underlined letters to form an acronym. This can be a real word or a nonsense word you can easily pronounce. Sometimes, an acronym uses a second letter from a word in the series, most commonly a vowel, to make the acronym easier to read, and often a small word like of or and is dropped in creating the acronym. For example, here is a checklist a pilot might use before lining up on the runway, which can be memorized by using the acronym FIST. Applications of the acronym method. The most common application of this technique is memorizing lists of things. Whether you are a student or you need to memorize material for your work, learning how to memorize lists can help you a lot in your learning. Almost everything of what we have to learn can quickly turn into a list by splitting the concepts up into smaller chunks of information. It is undeniable that chunking is one of the most effective learning strategies. However, even after we turn this information into a list, it is still difficult to memorize the exact order of the items on the list, but acronyms can help you in making lists manageable. Now, let's practice putting some acronyms together. Assume you had to memorize some of the following ideas in school. The 5 layers of the human scalp: skin, connective tissue, aponeurosis epicranial, loose areolar tissue, and pericranium can be memorized with the acronym SCALP. The stages of cell division, interphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase can be memorized with the acronym IPMAT. Notice that in this example, you cannot form a real word using the first letter of each fact to be remembered, but the acronym IPMAT can be easily pronounced and memorized. Here's another acronym. SOHCAHTOA is a mnemonic device that is used in mathematics to remember the definitions of the 3 most common trigonometric functions. If you have a particularly long list to remember, you can use more than one acronym. Break the list down into groups by type, color, or shape, and so on. Then, create an abbreviation for each group. Using acronyms in your daily life. You can create your acronym to help you remember a short list of items or tasks to do. Here is a 6 items grocery list in alphabetical order that we can easily memorize with the acronym technique. Apples, eggplants, eggs, lollipop, pie, and salad. By rearranging the first letters, we get the word please. This mnemonic acronym will trigger your memory for every word in the set. Using acronyms in your career. Acronyms can also be used to design a memorable speech or presentation. Here's how it works. Take a word that is relevant to your speech and important to the audience and use it as an acronym by creating a structure of concepts, each starting with a letter of this word. For example, you can take the word values and create a list of 6 key factors, like in this example: vision, action, leadership, understanding, ethics, and service. By elaborating on each factor, you will be able to speak without notes for 30 minutes to 1 hour and never lose your place. You can do this with almost any word, whether it's a 3-letter word or a 10-letter word. This method is an effective way to organize your key ideas and to impress your audience by speaking fluently without notes. The sentence method is very similar to the acronym method. In the same way that we remember a list by forming an acronym, we can create sentences to remember useful pieces of information. Here's how the sentence method works. You take the first letter or an important letter of the words you're trying to memorize and form a sentence out of these. The first letter of the words in the sentence reminds us of what we want to recall because they are the same as the first letters of the words in the list. Each first letter is a clue to an item from the list you need to remember. This method is better for longer lists as compared to the acronym method because a sentence allows you to create much more elaborate mnemonic images than a single word. The sentence method is particularly helpful when you have to memorize things in a particular order because the logic of the phrase will help you remember the order of the items. Here's how to form an acronymic sentence, also known as an acrostic, when you have to memorize facts or concepts. Write the concepts you need to remember. Underline the first letter of each concept. If there is more than one word in the concept, underline the first letter of only the first word. Arrange the underlined letters to form a memorable sentence. Here are 2 examples presented earlier, which we can now memorize by using the sentence method. The colors of the rainbow. Richard of York goes battling in vain. The Great Lakes. Sergeant Major hates eating onions. Applications of the sentence method. As with the acronym method, the most important use of the sentence method is to memorize lists of items. Almost everything of what you have to learn can ultimately be reduced to an ordered list of items, so it is important to know how to apply this method. Assume you had to memorize some of the following items in school. The countries of Central America in order from North America to South America. Think of the phrase, green bananas help sister nations create prosperity. The names of the 9 muses in Greek mythology. You might think of the phrase, count clamoring elephants thundering eastward, mighty trunks pointing up. The signs of the zodiac. Think of the phrase, a tall giraffe chewed leaves very low, some slow cows at play. Medical students are famous for making up highly ingenious mnemonics, both acronyms and sentences. The amount of medical information they have to learn, particularly concerning human anatomy, inevitably led to the need to use memory techniques in their studies. This one is used for remembering the nerves in the superior orbital tissue. Lazy French tarts lie naked in anticipation. Using the sentence method in your daily life. You can create your phrases to help you remember a short list of items or tasks to do. For example, you can memorize the grocery list presented earlier, apples, eggplants, eggs, lollipop, pie, and salad, by using this weird but memorable sentence. Sublime Eskimos eat large abstract pianos. Here is a website that can help you create your mnemonic sentences. Using the method in your career. Regardless of who you are and what type of job you currently have or plan to have, there is a good chance that one day you will be required to make a presentation for your colleagues or your clients. These two methods can help you design a memorable presentation around your mnemonic that can make you garner the respect and support of others in your career or personal life. If you are a teacher, creating and practicing these methods will help your students to organize their new knowledge and eventually transfer it to long-term memory. After all, a teacher's goal is always to teach students things they'll remember from year to year. It's also fun to create acronyms and mnemonic sentences as a whole class activity. Students might compose an acronym to aid in memorizing the parts of a flower, an insect, or a tree. These simple methods can help you in many situations, so don't forget to use them every time you have the opportunity. See you in the next lesson to learn another very effective memory technique, the link method.